I feel like today's gospel is part skills training and part pep talk. Skills training because Jesus teaches his disciples how to pray. One of them notices Jesus praying, and when he had finished, he says to him, "Lord, teach us to pray." Then Jesus gives them a prayer that we refer to as the Lord's Prayer. It's a prayer we all know by heart, and we recite it almost every time we are gathered together. Prayer is a skill we could all use some improvement on. It's not just knowing a prayer, there are plenty of them out there, but it's finding the time to pray. That is often the bigger challenge. And then learning to not be distracted while we are praying, like during Mass. That's even a bigger challenge. Sometimes, too, we get ambitious when it comes to prayer, and we bite off more than we can actually chew. We set too high of expectations. For example, making a holy hour and praying 3 rosaries every day. If we set the bar too high, then we are bound to fail. One time when I was in a period of dryness in prayer, my spiritual director suggested that I pray privately for just 2 minutes a day. At first, it sounded woefully inadequate for someone who was studying to be a priest. But the first time I tried it, I thought those 2 minutes would never end. Eventually, the 2 minutes grew, and soon I was praying for longer periods of time, and it was more fruitful than before. Start small and set expectations for prayer that you can actually accomplish. The pep talk portion of today's gospel comes to us in the form of a parable. On one hand, the message here is that we should never give up and keep going despite the obstacles and the struggles that we face. But on the other hand, the person in the parable who is asking for the 3 loaves of bread is not asking for them for himself, but for a friend who arrived at his house unannounced from a journey. It is one thing to be persistent in the things we want or the goals that we set for ourselves. But it is something altogether different when we are persistent for the good of others. Now, if we translate this into the work of the church, then we Christians can never rest because there are countless opportunities to be persistent for the good of others. In a nation that is deeply divided, and in a world that is at war, we have a golden opportunity to work for unity and peace, and defend the dignity and the sanctity of all human life. We must demonstrate our total commitment to being pro-life by providing real and tangible support and solutions to women who find themselves in crisis pregnancies beyond just the birth of their children. To advocate for the abolishment of the death penalty. To have a serious dialogue followed by concrete actions to address acts of violence in our culture as it relates to mental health, the state of families, the valuation of life, and the importance of community, the influence of entertainment and gaming industries, bullying, and the availability of firearms. All the while, feeding the poor, working for justice, and caring for those who suffer from illness and addictions. We must ask and seek and knock until all life is respected and valued from the womb to the tomb. The skills that we need in order to do this, we find in Jesus Christ himself, who laid down his life for each and every one of us. Redeemed by his sacrifice on the cross, forgiven by his mercy, united with him in prayer, and inspired by him in his faithfulness to do the will of the Father. And his pep talk to us is more than just words, but an actual share in his divine life through the grace of the sacraments, especially the Eucharist, now and forever.